Cards of encouragement poured in when Deirdre found out she had breast cancer. Daughter Elena was 14, son Mitchell 11. From the start, Kevin and Deirdre talked honestly with their kids about cancer.
I think they benefited from knowing exactly what was going on, not having secrets, knowing that what Mommy and Papi told them were what was happening, and not having to worry.
My mom and dad most told me like the things that could happen and what would probably happen.
You're establishing trust with them when they know that they know all the information that you know.
The trust is definitely, it was a big part of our relationship during the event, and because so that way we knew that the information that was being told to us was certain and true, and the possibilities, so that we weren't overwhelmed with information.
Rita was having surgery to remove some ovarian cysts. She was shocked to wake up and find out that she actually had ovarian cancer.
I remember I saw the tubes in my nose, and it seemed like I had tubes everywhere. And she looked pretty scared. And I remember saying, "Hey, sorry, Boo, Mom's a little under the weather, but And I don't remember that I actually said anything at that point to her about it.
A single mom at the time, Rita was concerned about her 8-year-old daughter Karis, adopted as an infant in China.
I was able, I started helping her around the house a lot more. I would start helping her with dinner, breakfast, and sometimes I got up in the morning a little earlier to make my lunch for school and stuff.
Hi, I'm Martha Aschenbrenner. When you're newly diagnosed with cancer, it's very difficult to know what to say to your children and how to help them. As a breast cancer survivor and mother, I know firsthand that it's hard to even use the word cancer with children. Our main role as parents is to protect our kids, so we may not even want to talk about cancer with them. It's not a matter of if they'll find out, but when. So let's start with the idea that you're going to be honest with your kids and include them in the family journey of cancer. So when is the right time to talk with your kids about the cancer? Children realize that there's something going on pretty quickly, and as bad as cancer may seem to us as adults, their imaginations can dream up so much worse than cancer, worse than the reality that you have a disease we feel you're going to be treated for and do well with. We want for them to understand your reality, not their fantasy. So children need to be included early in the process. But who should tell the kids? It's best if you talk to them about your cancer, so in the future they'll know that they can come to you with their questions. Ideally, you as parents would sit down with your children and talk with them about your diagnosis. You can tailor the information to each child later as questions arise. But how do you tell them? The goal is for you to be comfortable enough to be honest about your cancer, with the idea that you don't want your children living in fear or living with misconceptions.
The fear of the unknown is the most stressful part about dealing with cancer, and I think anything in life. And so by trying to stay factual and dividing what you know and what you don't know, and sharing that with your kids.
I recommend using a method called the 3 C's of cancer. The first C is that it's called cancer, so you're giving it a name. Giving it a name helps children to isolate your disease as separate from something that they might get. If you only use the word sick in reference to your cancer, then when someone tells your child that they're sick, they might think that they too have cancer. So by giving cancer a name, they understand that what's happening to you is not going to happen to them. The second C is, it's not catchy. It's not contagious, but we use the word catchy because to a child, everything is catchy. Colds, the flu, sneezes, and so on. I like to tell children you could eat off the same ice cream cone as your mommy and not catch her cancer. The third C is that it's not caused by anything anybody did or didn't do. It's not caused by anything you did or didn't do, but it's also not caused by anything that your child did or didn't do. For instance, it's not caused by their bad behavior or anything else that they did. So, information can be delivered gently and accurately, gradually over time, so that your children can absorb it and any misconceptions can be clarified.
We can't imagine the kids being in a world where they didn't even know that we were facing, something that could actually be fatal, and then all of a sudden telling them before a surgery, Mommy may not be here after this surgery. So I think that keeping the information coming and keeping it in small amounts and continuous is much, much better than all of a sudden giving a big piece of information.
Explain that you'd like to tell them about what you have, because your cancer is different than other people's cancer.
We talked about what the cancer is, what we didn't know about the cancer, what the treatments would be, how they worked, the length. Every time we got results from a new scan where the tumors shrunk or disappeared, we told them that, and that was good news. I think we pretty much told them everything that we learned during the process.
Let them know about the kind of treatment you're going to get. For instance, chemotherapy can be described as a special medicine, and it's a big word, so they can shorten it to just chemo. Tell them about some of the side effects that they might see, such as hair loss or gaining weight.
I came home and I discussed with Karis that the drugs that they were giving me that would make me well also were going to attack some of the good cells, and that the result of that would be that I would lose my hair. And would she prefer that I be a mommy with short hair before I was a bald mommy, or should I just let it all kind of come out at one time?
It's funny that we focus on the hair. It's the one that part of this whole process that you can have fun with.
That was fun because, see, we had this gel and we started making her hair really, really weird. And then I took a comb and I wrapped her hair around, and then I noticed I couldn't undo it. And then now it kind of made the limit, okay, just cut it off. She looks beautiful now.
If you present it as a horrible thing, then that's how they'll accept it. But if you present it in a positive light, then they'll accept it more as just a bump in the road. In my experience, children do very well once the hair is gone. For radiation, you might tell them it's like a laser ray that finds the spot where the cancer is and tries to shrink it. The laser doesn't hurt and it goes through the skin, but not the body. For surgery, you might say that the doctor knows where the cancer is and thinks that it's time to take it out. They do that by taking you to the operating room, where they will give you some medicine to help you sleep while the doctors take the cancer out. This is what they're trained to do. Then when you come out, you'll stay in the hospital for a few days. Depending on your situation, you can explain whether they'll be able to visit or not.
My older daughter was old enough to go in the treatment room with me, so she got to see, it was a nice, comfortable room with TV and video, and kind of it's not as scary as she thought what was happening to Mommy up at M.D. Anderson.
With preparation, I've even taken children into the intensive care unit. But first we talk about all the equipment they're going to see and what it's used for in very simple terms. Always ask your children if they have any questions. You may have to answer the same question more than once. And let them tell you what they know about cancer. The toughest question that goes through all our minds that children often give voice to is, are you going to die? The answer is, my plan is not to die. Explain that you don't know what will happen yet, but that you'll make sure to give them updates as you go along.
I never made promises to her that I didn't have any control over in terms of the outcome of my disease. It wasn't until really quite far down the line past it when I finally asked her if she was worried that I would die, that she said yes, but she just didn't feel like talking about it at the time.
Another important point of discussion is scheduling. Children like routine. Changes in their routine can be stressful. So tell your kids you'll do what you can to keep their schedule as normal as possible, and when you know there's going to be a change, you'll tell them as well.
We told them we have all kinds of friends here. You know, you can go with so-and-so and so-and-so to school, home from school. I mean, we talked about all the options that could happen.
Other routines should also be maintained. Big changes put children on the alert, so any change should be gradually added into the routine if possible.
You know, I would always invite her in, like, you know, she'd be getting dressed for school, and I'd say, come talk to me. Tell me about your day. And I would allow her to basically continue having the life she had. I didn't want her routine and her things to stop because I had to make a stop.
You know your children's personalities. If they're responding to your illness or treatment in the usual way they would respond to any other difficulty, then you know you're doing all right. If they're responding in unusual ways and you're noticing changes in their usual behavior, then you may need to tap some resources for help. Make sure your children's schools know about your illness, because that's where your children spend a good part of their day. The school counselor can be a continuing source of support for your child. And some communities have free counseling services for families in this situation. M.D. Anderson also has counselors available for children. Check with your social worker about support groups at M.D. Anderson that might be available for your children while you're in treatment. These support groups focus on specific emotions children might feel when their parent has cancer. There are children's books that talk about when a parent has cancer. Resources on the web can provide good book reviews. Booklets from various sources, including M.D. Anderson, can also be beneficial. Realistically, teenagers may not want to talk to you about their feelings, but will more likely reach out to others. Just make sure they're talking to someone.
I told some of my friends that I knew I could talk to, you know, whenever I needed them, and they would, you know, be sympathetic. And everyone else, even like grown-ups at church and things like that.
If you're from out of town and your children are at home during treatment, send pictures or a video so they can see where you are and who you're with. You can also write letters and talk on the phone. Encourage your kids to keep a scrapbook of what's happening in their lives while you're gone, and encourage them to send you things that you can decorate your room with. This experience is an opportunity to teach your children about expressing emotion. In talking with them, you may cry. Explain that we cry when we're sad, when we're scared, and sometimes when we're mad. Explain why you're crying or why you're feeling whatever emotion you're feeling. If children feel you're being honest with them, they'll take things in stride. This is also an opportunity to teach your kids how to handle difficult situations in life, which they're bound to confront. We get through difficult times by being open, by supporting each other, by relying on each other for help, and by seeking help from others.
You know, life is tough and unfair and doesn't owe you anything, and we all learn those lessons in life along the way, and so we have this experience of life, and I think by our children seeing us open, they gain life experience. It doesn't mean that they're developmentally ready to understand all of it necessarily, but it's a little piece of information that gets stored somewhere that's going to, I think, help them in the future.
We face what comes our way in life because we don't have a choice, but how we face it is a choice. When Rita received a Mother's Day card from Karis, she knew that some good had come out of all this.
Happy Mother's Day. Dear Mom, you have taught me how to be strong when you fought against cancer 2 years ago. I hope you never have to go through it again. You gave me hope to believe I can do anything. Happy Mother's Day. Love, Karis.
And I don't think there's anything beyond that you ever want to offer your children except the idea you can do anything.